Welcome to Land Speed Legends, a podcast talking to the men, the women, the legends that make land speed racing great. Discover the stories of these ordinary people whose passion for land speed racing has made them legendary. And now, here's your host, the Bonneville Belle, the High Boy Honey, the Salt Princess, Allison Volk-Dean.
Welcome to another episode of Land Speed Legends. Today I have with me the legendary Chad Howey. Chad's love for land speed racing begins with his Grandpa Howey's ventures racing various cars in the 50s in California at the Dry Lakes and at Bonneville. Grandpa Howey's land speed career ended in the 70s when he decided he was going drag racing. The drag racing circuit is where Chad developed a need for speed. In honor of Grandpa Howey, the Howeys eventually returned back to Bonneville with his old belly tank for the 50th anniversary of Speed Week. This is just the beginning for Chad as he moved on to building and racing a Ford Probe in quest of 200 miles per hour. He was deployed to the Middle East before he could obtain that record, but Chad took a break from land speed racing and began working on a couple of motorcycle projects with his sons. But land speed racing came calling again, literally, when he received a phone call from the legendary Dallas Volk asking if he would like to come help with a rebuild of a modified roadster they were going to run. Currently, Chad crews on the 590 modified roadster and is building a rear engine modified roadster with his daughter, Emily. Get ready. This is going to be as gratifying as watching your backyard engineering set a record. All right, Chad. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I am excited about this. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think you have some good stories in here as I was reading through your little bio. But yeah, let's get started with your Grandpa Howey. So you were never out there with him racing.
I never was. He had stopped racing out on the flats by the time I was born. He started, like I said, he started in the 50s. He had a garage in Bell, California, called Rogers Motor Service. And he was one of the original people to go out to El Mirage. And I don't know if he went to the first Bonneville meet. My dad says he has, but I haven't able to verify that.
You have your
my dad
trust but verify.
Correct. Especially with my dad. So he started out there. He always ran Buicks. He was always a big Buick guy. He had a 39 Buick Coupe that he was running, and they brought it to Bonneville in, I think, 53. And he, I guess it wasn't run good or wasn't handling right. So he enlisted Burke Lesage, the world's tallest midget, to drive it for him. And Burke ended up flipping it and was in a coma for a while after that. So he stepped back for a while. That kind of shook him. But he, after that, he built a couple rear engine modified roadsters. He had one on the drag strip and one that he ran out on the salt. And he ran those for several years and ended up selling it because he wants a belly tank. I mean, I think belly tanks are so, salt flats.
I agree.
So we ran this belly tank and I don't ever remember him being out there. When I was a child, he had taken it apart and brought it into the basement of his house and then put it back together. And so whenever we'd go visit Grandpa Howey, we'd walk by, hey, love you, and then run downstairs and we're just driving that car, pretending like we're driving to California. But so that's kind of his story.
What was his first name? I didn't get it.
Oh, Roger.
Roger. Okay.
Yeah, Roger. His shop was Rogers Motor Service in California, but then once they moved back to Utah, I think they moved back in 58 or 59. Once they moved back to Utah, he started Rogers Speed Shop, which was in Bonneville. I don't know if you remember where that was. Yeah, he had a little speed shop there that he had a dyno and he would do some custom stuff there. But I think it was mostly to, test his stuff.
The shop was secondary.
Right.
Well, that's really cool. So it was kind of just in your blood a little bit, even though you hadn't really been out to the dry
salt.
lakes or the salt. It was kind of part of your background and in your DNA.
So my dad had bought a Nova, 68 SS Nova with a big block in it. And I guess it was pretty quick. So they started drag racing it. And then eventually my grandpa took over that and my dad had bought an Anglia. And so most of my childhood was spent on drag strips. We went to Boise and Pocatello and Gooding and Salt Lake and Vegas and just anywhere around here. Just about every weekend we were at a different track.
That sounds like fun.
It was a lot of fun. I think you kind of take it for granted at that age because that's just what right? That's what you do. And you think it's weird that no one else, does it. But looking back on it, it was, my siblings and I are all really close. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that we spent so much time together.
Yeah, the races. Yeah, I think that does help develop that closeness.
Yeah.
The racing aspect. So you're drag racing, and is your dad drag racing, or are you drag racing with your grandpas?
No, my dad's like I say, my dad had that Anglia, and my grandpa had the Nova.
Okay, and your dad's Scott Howey, just so we can get the names.
Yeah. And so we used to run when we first started going. They had class racing, and it's similar to the Salt Flats, where that you ran dad ran a B altered, right, and grandpa ran a modified stock, I think. And so it was heads up. They'd weigh the car, had a certain engine size, you had to have a certain weight, and it was heads up racing. And then eventually it came, when it went bracket racing, that Anglia, the wheelbase is so short on it, there's really no way to get consistent ETs on it. And so it just kind of petered out, got to where it wasn't that fun anymore. You couldn't win and you couldn't do well. And so if you're not doing good, it's just not that fun anymore. But
yeah. And so you guys said, you know what, let's go bowling.
I don't know how
when
that
you put that on that bowling, I know.
How that started.
And then you said that, and I was like, I think I do remember hearing that Chad is a really good bowler.
I did bowl a 300. Yeah.
I'm quite proud of it. So we guys just got into that hot and heavy for a while.
I don't know what it was. I mean, the
whole family.
Just my dad and my grandpa and myself. I was young. Fun. I was, I think when I started, I was 12 or 13, but it lasted up until, I bowled my 300 in 89.
Yeah.
So I probably bowled for 10 years.
Yeah.
And we do tournaments, and it was the same thing. Bowling tournaments in Vegas and bowling tournaments.
You're still doing
we're just still traveling around, just bowling instead of racing. I think,
it's probably a little cheaper.
People are competitive, you know what I mean? And so you gotta have something to fill that void.
Yeah.
And so I think the bowling filled that for him. Because I really wish I would have talked to him more about it, about the salt flat racing, because he never said anything. He wasn't a big communicator anyway. When I used to work, when I was in junior high and high school, I would ride my bicycle over to his shop. It was over there just off 5th. By the Wendy's on 5th and 2nd. Yeah. Okay. So I used to ride my bike over there, and I'd spend all day working. He'd pay me $2 an hour. I'd ride my bike home with $80 in my pocket every Friday. And people would come in and try to talk to him, like in his shop, and he wouldn't say a word, head down, just working. And that's how he was. He wasn't a good big communicator. So that's something I wish I would have known, was more of his story, right? Because my dad embellishes.
He's the opposite. He's like willing to tell you anything. That's funny.
Yeah.
But you guys did make it back to the salt.
We did. We had, when he passed away in 94, that car that he had in the basement, it had a blown nail head in it, is what he always ran. But he always wanted to build a straight 8, because that was kind of his first love, I guess, was the straight 8 Buick. And so the 50th was coming up, 50th anniversary. And so my dad said, hey, you know what? I think it'd be really neat if we could get this Lakester out and put it together in his honor. But the Lakester that he was running, the tank, it was too short for that, because that straight 8 is long. It is such a long motor. And so, but he had actually had a tank that he got from from Smith and Edwards up there. He had a separate tank there, stood up next to his race car tank. So that's the car that we ended up building. And it was neat, because the year that we went out, my mom has an old 37 Buick with a straight 8 in it. And we were pushing the race car with the straight 8 Buick in it. And it was a lot of fun. We had a really good time with it. It wasn't very fast. We couldn't get the record with it. And we really, we just didn't have the skills really to get the power out of that straight 8 that we needed to get for that record.
Yeah. So you kind of put that to the side and decided to try something else?
No, we were working on it, trying different things, trying different intake designs and different header designs. And there wasn't a lot we could do aerodynamically, but we were trying different things to shield the axles and whatever aerodynamic tweaks you could get. And there was, just at the time, I was working at a Ford dealership. And we used to always, you always get cars in that people don't want to fix or that they're too far gone. Excuse me. So instead of getting paying the checkout fees, the people just abandon the cars, right? And so, almost every dealership's going to have a stack of cars in the back that no one wants to pick up. So we had a little Ford Thunderbird. They made a Thunderbird in the 80s that had a turbocharger on it, and it was a fun car. It was a neat car. And it had some electrical fire, and they were going to get rid of it. And I bought it from them for $500. Mm-hmm. And so my brother and I, who was working with me at the dealership, we decided that we were going to try to take it out for the 130 Club.
Yeah.
See if we could go 130 with it. And we were making plans for that. And then meanwhile, there was a little Ford Probe out there, and it had a blown transmission in it. And so I decided, hey, it's so much more aerodynamic than that Thunderbird. It'd be a lot easier. So we pulled, I bought the Probe as well. And then, of course, it was front wheel drive. Mm-hmm. So I cut the body off of the frame and converted to rear wheel drive. And I used the rear end and the front suspension and the transmission and engine out of the Thunderbird. And I built the Probe.
And this is for the 130 Club?
No.
I was going to say, this is a lot of work for the 130 Club.
We changed our mind once we got that deep into it.
Yeah. So what class were you running?
I was running G blown fuel altered.
Okay, cool.
I ran fuel initially just because race gas was out of my price range at the time. So I ran fuel, just alcohol in it. And the record was 163. And then we went out for Speed Week that first time out, and we went 166 and set the record. So
wow,
it seemed like it was easy. I thought, oh man,
you're like, I got this in the bag.
Yeah, I don't know why people are struggling. This is easy stuff. So and then at the same time, we were still working on that the Lakester, and my brother, since he was back, he kind of took over driving duties of that. Mm-hmm. And so he was driving the Lakester and I was driving my Probe, and it was really a good time. Yeah.
You were saying that it was just a really magical time.
It was like, cause the next year at the World Finals event, we used to, I didn't have a truck at the time. I had a motorhome that I would tow all my stuff with. And so,
hey, that's the beauty of Bonneville is you do what you got to do to get out there, right?
Yeah, you make it work.
Fuel, race gas, whatever, get out there.
So we used to tow we had my dad's truck, and then he would tow the Lakester with his truck. And then I'd hook my race car onto my dad's race car, and we'd triple tow up there, And so at the World Finals meet, or not, excuse me, at the World of Speed meet, he qualified for his record because with that Lakester, we couldn't get the power that we wanted, and the blown record, which so a lot of times happens, is slower than the unblown record, right? It happens a lot, and that record was like that, and so we had this janky turbo system that it was a draw through, and it was. It had the carburetor, and then it went from the carburetor through the turbo, and then through the intercooler, and then into the manifold. And what would happen was, as the fuel would come out of the carburetor, it'd go into that intercooler, and then it would fall out of suspension. It would fill up there, and you could not get the car to start because all the fuel was pooling in the intercooler, and it wasn't high tech. But if you push started, it ran pretty good. And so. My brother went down, qualified for his record, and then I followed right behind him, and I qualified for my record, and then we towed each other back up to the impound and spent the day in impound. And then,
so fun.
Yeah, got up in the morning and towed up, and he went down and set his record, and I went down and set my record. And it was really neat. Those are the kind of moments that, make it all worth it.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about, making buildings more fun a lot of times than driving. Being part of the creative process. But when you spend your time with your family and you're succeeding together and you're, making memories, it was
failing
awesome.
Together too.
I've done a lot of that.
Both. It does. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all of us have done a lot of failing and succeeding. So.
Yeah. And the successes wouldn't be as sweet if they,
I agree.
Like I say, I took for granted those first couple of records.
You wish you would have savored the moment a little bit longer.
Right.
So you kind of get this idea that you're like, okay, I am going to try to go 200.
I think everybody's goal, that goes out there wants to go 200.
I agree.
And I'd put about as much as I could into that. It was that little 4-cylinder. It was because that motor was initially it was a 2.3 liter turbo motor. Mm-hmm. It was similar to the Pinto motor, but just it had a little bit bigger bore on it and a little bit of stroke. So I ended up sleeving it and putting smaller pistons in it, and it just didn't have what I needed to. It wasn't going to go 200 for me. I kept turning the boost up to try it. So I ended up putting a big block Chevy in it. After all those years of drag racing, my grandpa has, probably 15 big block Chevys sitting in, that we had taken out of his garage. And so we put together a big block and we went out there and blew it up. I mean,
scattered it, huh?
Parts everywhere. So, maybe it was just bad luck. So we did it again and blew up another one. And so finally I got some money together and bought some good parts. And then it was a matter of handling. Once I finally got to 200, about 210, it was like a fish going upstream, just back, sideline to sideline, right? And just evil handling. And so
it didn't like that speed at all, huh?
I was unfamiliar. I didn't know a lot about flat racing at all, and I didn't know about drag racing. So when I built the probe, I thought, two races a year, that's not going to be enough, So I made the probe as light as I could. I cut all the door panels out of it. I just made it super, super, super light. And with the slower speeds, it wasn't a big deal. At 160, 170, I didn't have a problem. But when I got to 210 and 220, it started to get real. So that's when we started adding a lot of lead, right? And so there was a couple years where we would just go out and spin. And the last time you can tell all those pictures I sent you of the car. Mm-hmm. The first pictures of the first couple of years, it's all one solid color. And the pictures after that, it's got flames on the front. It's because as it came around on me, and when it came around, it picked the back end up. And then it slides, so it's going down the track upside backwards on its nose, and it folded the front of the nose up, right? That's why it's got flames, because then to do the fiberglass,
it's covering some stuff up.
It looks horrible, but if you paint white, it makes it a little flatter.
Let's just throw some flames on that; it'll be okay.
No. So we finally got it to where it would stay down. It handled really well once we got enough lead in it. And we ran, my fastest speed was 232 on a 236 record. Yeah. And
that's pretty.
Yeah, it was so close.
Pretty good.
So what did I do? I went and talked to your dad.
I did.
Yeah. I was like, hey, what pill do I need if I put 30% in? And he's like, well, the smallest one you got. So I put the smallest one I had in it, and boy, it was on a run. But I ended up melting the pistons out of it. And that summer or that winter, I was making plans to put it back together, and it's hard because you get to in this zone where you're just going to do it no matter what. Everything else is secondary, right? And I had a family at the time. I still have a family. I don't really. They all moved out now, but I was taking care of the kids.
You had a young family.
I had a young family, and there was a lot of other needs, more pressing than new pistons. So, and I told the wife that I wouldn't buy race car parts until I finished the basement bathroom. Yeah. So I did that.
Did the base? I'm sure it got finished then, right? Like quickly.
Yeah.
That's interesting with the drag racing. There's such a connection with land speed racing and drag racing. There's just a real crossover. But I do find that people that are drag racers that come out to the Salt Flats, they learn it's not drag racing real quick, that there's a learning curve there.
There's a huge learning curve. There's a lot of difference there. Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting.
There's people who say that it's just a long drag race, and it is essentially. But there are things that you need to do that are different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Traction is the thing. So
yeah. Well, so this is why I love that you guys do this. So you guys between that, okay, so you get deployed, right?
I did deploy, yeah.
But were you doing the Le Mans racing before that?
I was doing Lemons racing before that, yeah.
Okay, so tell us about that before we get to the deployment, because I think that's really fun.
Oh, yeah, it's a good time. There's a race series, they call it the 24 Hours of Lemons.
Okay. Oh, it's lemons, not Le Mans. Okay, like Le Mans, but lemons. That's so
exactly.
funny.
It's a play on the Le Mans thing, and they do it. They started it just to because road racing is so expensive. Mm-hmm. So they started this series where it's a 24-hour race in a $500 car. So you get there and they will inspect your car, make sure that it's safe to run and operate, and then you go through the BS inspection. And in the BS inspection, they look at things and say, hey, is it really worth $500? Or did you put cheaty shocks on it, or, a big cam or whatever to try to make it more reliable or more handle better. So if you cheat, if they think you spent more, then they add laps to you. And so they try to keep it fair that way. Yeah. And so my brother and I, we thought, hey, this sounds like a lot of fun, and it's only going to be $500.
So they say.
And so we started looking around, and the Lockhart's Mark, he had a car there. I don't know why I keep getting free cars, but he had this little BMW, an E21, which is an 83 3 Series. Mm-hmm. And he was doing roll cages for Miller Motorsports at the time, because Miller was doing a bunch of Mustang challenge cars. So Mark had some misbends and some different pieces of pipe. And he said, I'll tell you what, he said, I'll give you this car. Heck, I'll even put a cage in it for you. How can I pass it up? Right. And it's stuck. So
you had $500 to play with after that, if it was free, right?
Yeah. I don't think we were probably the only car out there that we'd had less than $500 into it, because we had to buy tires. Yeah. I mean, that was the only money we really spent on it. And we ended up going, it was, Todd and Opie and Mark, and we did our first race in Reno Fernley. There was a racetrack out in Fernley, Nevada, and we went out there, and it's a hoot. It's such a good time. Back then they used to have they called her the Archangel, and she would, if you drove like an animal,
this is so funny, she
would weld an animal to your car, like they have a big pig or a chicken or some kind of barnyard animal, and this gal in like a bathing Victoria's Secret outfit with the wings and all that, because she's the Archangel, so right? Funny. And she's welding an animal to your car. But Opie kept passing on yellow, right? Like if someone spins out, they throw the yellow flag. And that was Opie's chance to, make up some laps. And so he got black flagged, and they drug him in, and they made him, you had to spin the wheel of consequences. And then whatever it landed on, you had to do. And Opie had to mime his crime. So they gave him a black and white striped shirt.
That is.
And a beret, and painted his face white. And he's got that beard.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he's got all this white paint in it and stuff. And then he has to gloves and mime what he did wrong.
Oh my gosh, this seems like so much fun. So do they still do this?
They do it all over. Oh my gosh,
I want to go do it.
They do it all over. We've done it at Miller's, and we really want to go. They have a couple different series because it's pretty successful. So they have a couple different series now, and we'd like to do Laguna Seca. I think that's kind of what we're saving up for, is to do that
nice. So you guys are going to go do it again?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so where is that at? I don't know where that's
Laguna
at.
Seca?
Yeah.
It's in Monterey, California.
Oh, okay. It's like a big racetrack, obviously. I'm just not aware of.
It's like super famous.
Is it a circle track, though?
No, it's a road course.
That's why I don't know. Yeah. I'm just,
No.
I know a drag.
Well, there's not a lot of people do it because, like I say, it's really expensive if you want to go out and but this kind of makes it affordable.
Yeah, just the lemons one. Oh my gosh, I that sounds like so much fun. I want to come out there and watch you guys when you do it.
Okay, so
okay, okay. So then you get deployed though. After you're you're doing all this, and so you start kind of looking at motorcycles while you're in the Middle East. Where'd you get deployed to?
I went to Al Dhafra.
I don't know where that is either.
It's in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
So there's not a lot to do over there. I'm a mechanic in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. And so, you work 12 hours on, 12 hours off, 6 days a week over there. And, but you're 12 hours off. There's not a lot to do at all. You could go sit in the smoke pit. They don't allow you to drink over there.
Oh yeah.
So you'd,
twiddling your thumbs, huh?
Right. So a lot of time on classified ads and stuff and just looking at stuff. And there was a motorcycle. My two boys, they obviously love race cars too, right? And they love fast things. But they can't, they're one's in high school at the time, one's in college, and they can't afford that type of thing, but they could afford a motorcycle because they're relatively expensive. And so I'd found a little CB750 online, and I texted my oldest boy and I said, "Hey, go buy this." And it had some neat parts to it. And it was the CB's a neat bike. So then when I got back, we spent the next probably 6 months putting that bike together. We made a cafe racer out of it. And then my younger son, Travis, he bought a little BMW motorcycle. And we made a cafe racer for him. And so then when we would go to car shows and stuff, I'd take my Fairlane and my dad takes his race cars, and then the boys would take their motorcycles and have fun at the car shows and stuff with them. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's spending time with them in the garage. It's amazing just to see them learn and just build confidence in building stuff and the pride that they feel when they create something. Right. It's amazing.
Yep. I think that's really neat that you did that. And just the bonding, the son and dad bonding and I don't think there's that. I'm sure, I don't know about it because I'm the daughter and dad, but I've seen it with my brothers and I know that it's something that is good. Yeah. I guess I would say. Yeah. So, okay. Well then, we move on to where you've taken a break from land speed racing from Bonneville for a little bit. And, but then you get a call from my brother, the legendary Dallas Wolf.
The legendary
He gets Dallas that name Wolf. Now. But, so he wants you to work on the modified.
The 590, yeah. They had bought that car, and I think the first year they ran it, they just ran it the way they got it. I think they ran Pat's motor, right?
It seems like it.
Yeah. So they, and it had an automatic, and I think they nuked that automatic transmission in it. I don't know if the converter was too loose or what, but, they had problems with that, and they decided to rebuild it. And of course, like most land speed projects, it's, in July, or you're like, oh no, we've got all this stuff to do.
Yeah.
It seems
balls to the wall. Yeah. Like, let's go. Trust me. I know. I'm like, why weren't you doing this in February?
Right. And it's universal, it seems like. So he had called and said that you were asking if I'd come help work on it. And that's such a neat car. It's a really neat car. And the year before that, my oldest son, on that motorcycle that I built with him, there was a girl who pulled out in front of him and killed him. And I was in a bad spot.
Yeah.
From that. It was really, really hard. I blame myself, obviously, because I built the motorcycle. Mm-hmm. And it was super hard.
Yeah.
So to get the call from Dallas and get me involved, because I couldn't go out in my garage anymore. I couldn't spend time out in there.
Oh yeah, I could imagine.
Because of the time I'd spent with those guys, it just drew me back to that point. And so when I got the call from Dallas, and I was able to go over to the Nish's shop and
take you out of your
out of my self-pity and whatnot, and be creative again.
Yeah.
I think that's for me, that's always kind of been what the most thing is about, is just to create things and feel like you're adding to the world, you know?
Yeah.
So it was awesome. I love that car. And I'm really grateful to the Nishes and to your brother to allow me to, you know, hang out. And
Oh my gosh, we love you guys over there. You guys, the Howeys create a fun pit. You guys are fun. And a tall pit too. I'm short, but I feel extra short. I just feel like a little child over there. But you guys are all over. Like what? How tall is the tallest?
Travis is 6'9".
Yeah. I mean, that is tall.
Well, our Erin's only 5'11", so she's our petite little flower.
That's tall. And 5'11's tall.
Yeah.
So the shortest is 5'11, and they're calling our little. So, but it is, you guys are fun and has been a great addition to the Volk Niche pit.
Yeah, thank you.
So, and we love you guys. And I'm so glad that's really neat. I didn't really know that was something that where you were kind of understandably in a dark place, and that, you know, that kind of helped.
I just started drinking too much. I mean, if I'm honest about it, I just,
well, yeah. I
started being reckless, you know, doing things I shouldn't do. And I recognized that. And Dallas helped pull me out of that. And it was really, I'll forever be grateful for that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Yeah. Cause you know, Dallas. I guess he's good for something. No, just kidding. I love my brothers. So then so that's what you do currently, is you help on the 590, the modified. And you don't have any plans you don't want to drive. You don't have a desire to drive anymore.
You know, I think eventually, I want to get in the club. Okay. I mean, that's kind of everyone's goal, you know? Yeah,
I didn't know. Like, let's talk, you know, I don't know that. So,
you know, I think, like I say, I wanted to go 200. Yeah. And my initial goal was to go 200 and get in the club. I didn't know about minimums at the time, but
you're all waiting. It's not that book, this book. Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so, I mean, I think I wanted, but it was, it'll come. You know what I mean? I'm not in a rush.
Yeah.
Per se. You know what I mean? I don't know. Brady's offered me a ride in the 590. But I kind of want to do in something that I built. Yeah.
Hey, people have their preferences. That's for sure. So it's understandable.
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable. You get to choose what you want to.
Right. And if I don't get in, it's not a make or break for me. I mean,
your self-worth isn't hanging on it.
No.
Why not? No, I'm just kidding. I think that's great. And then I wanted to explain really quick about the minimums, because just for people that may not know, is that there is SCTA minimums in the rule book for certain classes. But this does happen. People think that they break an SCTA record and they think that over 200, and they think they got in the 200 mile an hour club. They come over to the 200 mile an hour club booth and you're like, wait a minute, no, there's a minimum on that. So the club will look at records and be like, in order to kind of keep
the integrity.
Yes, thank you for the word.
Of the club. I've heard
I was like, what do they say? What's the word they use? The integrity of the club. So it remains somewhat challenging to get into. They will set a minimum, not an unreasonable minimum usually, but a minimum what they think it is. And if you can object to that minimum and make your case for it, and sometimes they change it. But that was a good opportunity to make, a little learning.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't understand it is, but like when they came out with the classic class, or they recently came out with the original class.
It's when it's new classes is when a lot, is minimums. When there's no.
Or else, you can have a AA blown fuel going 200 in the club,
that's
a 300 mile an hour car,
Yeah. Which is nothing. They're just getting,
Right.
So, yes. And that is the point, is to kind of keep the integrity of making it somewhat challenging. So.
Right. And then that led to building my new car. So,
yeah. Let's hear about this. I love this. You're building this. Is it just basically you and Emily doing this?
It is Emily and I doing it.
I love it. Yeah. I love it.
So the Jerry Lockhart. I don't know if you ever met Jerry Mark's dad.
I know Jerry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when Jerry was building his car, there was a guy who had come into his shop and said, "Oh, well, I got this body that my brother-in-law bought in the 60s. And it's been up there in the, you know where the Woods Museum is?
The what? Oh, the weird
Yes.
weird building up there. Yes.
Yes.
Creepy.
Yes.
Is it creepy? Is that the one?
No, not really.
It kind of is.
From the outside, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. It was in there.
Yeah.
Since Grandpa sold it in the 60s.
This is the belly tank or the?
No, this is the rear engine.
The rear engine.
Building.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
The rear engine that I'm building
was
there because that's, like I said, when the Grandpa he had that coupe and then he ran the rear engine.
Okay.
Sold it in the 60s and then ran the
How did
belly
it end
tank.
up there? It's like in Bonneville.
Yeah. Grandpa sold it to some kid in Bonneville back then. When he started building the belly tank. So anyway, Jerry got that thing for me. And so we decided that we're going to put it back together. We're not going to run a Buick in it because we want to go fast. So we're, although there are some fast Buicks out there.
Yeah.
But I can't afford to buy the parts needed to make a Buick go fast. So we're, big block Chevy, the motor that was in the Probe, put it back together. So far we've got we're working on the body right now. We've got the chassis all completed and the steering, and it's been really nice because to spend time with her now.
I know.
Trying to teach her how to weld.
A sweetheart.
Yeah.
She is.
She doesn't like grinding. She doesn't like the sparks but other than that, she'll do everything else.
She'll do everything else.
Yeah.
Fair. That's fair. And so is it her? She's going to drive it first, or is that the goal?
I don't know. I'll probably drive it first just because, just to make sure it's safe. Right? So I'll do 1 or 2 runs, and then we're going to have her.
But the plan is that she wants to run.
That's been the and that's part of the reason that we went with the rear engine car, because to try to get Travis in a car, forget about it. But I can lay him, I can lay him way out there and he can take the whole front of the car.
Yeah.
Get his whole 6'9" frame in that thing,
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, it's been a really fun project.
That's awesome. What are you going to, did you tell me what you're going to put in it? What?
Blown big block.
Okay. Oh yeah, you did. Duh. You did say that.
I'm trying to cherry pick records. Right. And
those rear engine modified records are
there's
somewhat
a couple
attainable
of them
still.
Yeah. And I do still
on a budget.
Right. I still do have the motor out of the Probe, but if I ran it, with fuel, it's a little faster. If I put a blower on it, it's 30 miles an hour slower. So we're going to run blown fuel or a blown gas, I should say.
Yeah. How far away are you from getting that done?
I hope to have it done by March.
Oh, so you're ready to, it's like Speed Week.
Yes, we'll run Speed Week this year.
Okay.
I hope. But
I know.
Our pits are going to be so huge.
We're just going to keep adding them.
With So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine.
Sometimes I think it's funner to run the World of Speed events just because there's so much more laid back.
Yeah.
And with a new car, right, it might be a little bit easier.
That's a good point, I think. Or you could go to the testing too.
There you go.
Out first.
That's a good idea.
I mean, that might be a good place to.
Yeah, they just brought that back.
If they have it. I know they used to have that July meet. We were talking about that with the Burkdals.
Right.
It was 4 meets. You'd have a July meet. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. The salts, we'll see. But what happened to the belly tank? Do you guys have that still?
No, he ended up selling it. That's a weird story. So my dad never did drive it. We built it. He really had plans on he wanted to get in the club. That was his goal. And I don't know why, but we built it to fit the belly tank, right? We didn't build it to fit him. He was and so he was a little bit too big to get in and out of it comfortably. And we did get him in at one time. But where the seat belts came across his neck right here, cut off blood to his head. And so he was never able to drive it. So after we set the 2 records for it, he ended up selling it and it bounced around for a couple of places. A couple of people had it. And then I saw on Facebook last year during COVID, the last person who had it, it's missing.
Huh.
I don't know what happened to it. So he said so it's a guy from Scotland.
A guy from Scotland has it. Like it's in Scotland?
He bought it. No, he bought it. Oh. But he was having somebody here store it for him.
And then it disappeared.
Allegedly disappeared.
Huh.
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook. I told him, if he finds it, let me know. Because he just wanted someone to store, from my understanding, he just wanted someone to store it for him while he was
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's too bad.
It's a mystery. Maybe in 20 years, one of my sons will say, "Hey, guess what I found?
Let's go race
Grandpa's old car."
That'd be fun. Keep an eye out for it. If anybody sees it.
Anyone knows where that's at.
Let us know. So, well, hopefully there is a salt flat still left for your sons to go racing on.
I hope so, yeah.
But yeah, so hopefully we can get something going, but you can help by going to savethesalt.org. Your donation will help with acquiring funds that are going to be needed in order to accomplish the salt restoration plan, which has a goal of pumping 206 million tons of salt byproduct from the south side of the freeway to the north side where the racetrack is. Thank you for listening to this Land Speed Legends episode, and please consider liking, sharing, and giving it a review. Also, don't forget to go to my Facebook and Instagram pages under Land Speed Legends. Thanks again.
Thanks for listening to Land Speed Legends. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, keep up with the show on Facebook and Instagram under Land Speed Legends. Until next time.